everybody, and welcome in to Blue Jays Today, the first Blue Jays Today show of effectively the new season, because baseball is back. There's a lot of talk about the Toronto Blue Jays got their first spring training W today, some big pitching performances, a sneaky breakout, question mark?
No, don't. Careful, Nick, careful.
Of a guy that I've never heard of until literally today. We're going to talk about that. We got a lot more, too. I'm your host, Nicholas Blaylock.
Yeah, I'm your host, Adam Paddle. A lot of fun stuff so far this spring training, even though we're 1-2. The record does not matter. What we're looking for here as baseball fans is what's between the stat line. Read between the lines, right? What are the players doing? How are they hitting the ball? How are their plate approaches? How are the pitchers looking? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm excited to talk about it and also maybe overreact just a little. So right. Overreaction warning coming in here, everybody.
Well, you know what? I know that the record doesn't matter and wins, they don't mean anything. Mm-hmm. It is still good to get in the win column, you know, because it's like, I was thinking this in my brain today. I was like, what if they went like, what if they started like 0-7? You know, and obviously, then, again, like, wins don't mean anything, but it's like, you start to go, well, what's happening here?
Effectively, you're starting your good guys every other game, right? So what's going on? And especially in spring training when the road teams typically start their B lineups. So if our A lineups aren't beating their B lineups, then what the hell's going on?
Yeah, that is obviously, that's not going to be the case, folks, because the Toronto Blue Jays did start their effective A lineup today. You got Guerrero, you got Bo, you got Varsho, you got Turney, got a bunch of different guys coming in and doing stuff. We do want to break that down and talk about the big performances that have so far happened in spring training. We know it's only 3 games, and we know that there's going to be comments being like, guys, it's spring training, it doesn't mean anything, which is 100% true.
Yes.
But obviously, we are going to discuss it. However, I do want to touch on tomorrow, because tomorrow, the game's not being streamed, by the way. We were going to go live for the game. It's not being streamed. That sucks. But tomorrow is the first start for Alek Manoah. And Alek Manoah, as everybody knows, last season just wasn't the best. He went through one hell of a roller coaster, and he actually opened up about it in a recent interview that we wanted to highlight, because he just had a lot of really great things to say.
No, yeah. I mean, last offseason when we were watching the downfall of Alek Manoah, I think at one point or another, we all kind of felt a number of things. I think we all felt bad for him. We all felt upset as well. We felt frustrated because there was other elements involved too, like, you know, why are you not going and reporting to Buffalo? That's a little bit off topic from here, but still, a lot of feelings that we were feeling about Alek Manoah. But what we forget is that this guy is a human being. And that is what he showed in this article by The Sun right here. Flashing it over, guys, just talking about the actual team going to the playoffs. Alek Manoah said, watching the team go to the playoffs, celebrating clinching that playoff berth at the end of the year, that was tough, said Manoah. And over here, and after opening day, when the Cardinals kicked that out of me, those were the moments that really sucked. So throughout this article, I encourage you guys to go read it. He just really is vulnerable and admitting that it felt bad, where other people would say, yeah, whatever, let's not talk about it. No, he's really touching an open wound.
Well, I like this a lot because this is kind of the first time that we've really heard Manoah speak. Like, I think that was where all the speculation came from at the end of last year, and why there was such an upheaval by Blue Jays fans when he didn't report. Because the fact of the matter was, Manoah just really didn't say anything at all. His social media was silent. He didn't have any representatives coming out and talking. So it was just all left up for speculation. And it feels like this article, it's a long one, by the way. Great read. But this article is the first time that we really heard him come out and give his side of the story. We've seen the highlights of him in the gym. This is where his mental was at the whole time. And I like that maybe for the first time in his entire career so far, I am really seeing Alek Manoah show his vulnerable side of things, right? When he first came up to this league and when he was doing really well and when he was getting into beef matches with Garrett Cole and the Yankees and stuff.
Yeah, like Alex Verdugo. That'll be fun. They're both on the same team.
Yeah.
I don't know how much he's going to get into this year, though. That's
I don't know if he will, but like that showed his competitive side. That showed the macho side. That showed a little bit of the ego, which is all good things. You know, you need all of those things to compete at a major league level. But I feel like as you develop, as you grow as a human being, as you grow as a teammate, as a team player, you do need to show a little bit more of that. So I love this a lot from Alek Manoah. I think that this is a good development, and I feel like he just said a lot of the right things that I want to hear from him walking into 2024.
Yeah, I agree. And guys, go check it out for sure. And I wanted to point out another quote here that I want to talk about. He said, it's really tough. Struggling in the big leagues, even tougher with all the eyes and everything on you. And that's another thing too. Like, we all forget that this guy has so many people looking at us. I mean, hell, like our show with 23,000 YouTube followers, that's a lot. And we're here talking about the words he's saying about this. We're talking about analyzing every single quote.
Totally.
That's a lot of pressure. And we're not even the biggest channel. There's Sportsnet. There's people outside, people in the United States, people across the pond, people everywhere around the world talking about you. And we can't even imagine, and I feel like a lot of you too can't even get to imagine the pressure that it must feel. So yes, it does feel good that he's kind of maturing a little bit.
Right.
I would say that this is a good maturing point, because yeah, it is all fun to come out and be having that huge ego, and I love it. It's entertaining, but at some point, you do got to lock it down when it's time to mature and it's time to put up, right? You got to put up.
Yeah, well, speaking of putting up, he kind of finishes off this entire interview discussing what his mentality is and what his process is going to be in 2024, right? And he kind of references last year how he was fighting himself a lot, and how, you get in these stretches, right, where like you're trying to make adjustments, but it's just so hard when you have a game on Saturday, when you have a game tomorrow, and you're fighting the old habits. So I like where he is at walking in to this season. I feel like he is approaching the year the right way. What are some things, and I know it sucks, we're not going to get to watch the game tomorrow. I really wanted to see his actual stuff, but what are some things, if you could watch the game, that you would be looking for him in his first start in spring training?
A couple things, two easy ones right here. Velocity, right? Because last year we looked at his fastball velocity. A lot of times, like, he was getting as low as 88 miles per hour, right? And I think that was not because he didn't have strength. Maybe, yes, of course. But also he's trying to guide the pitch into the zone, which leads into my second thing, the command. He needs to have a good command. And I'm going to be, even though I'm not watching on TV, I'm going to be tracking the pitch tracker. Because whenever Robbie Ray was with the Blue Jays and we didn't have him on the TV, I wanted to see how well he did. If you're on pitch tracker, make sure you're looking at where he's locating that fastball. If he's locating it well and he's throwing it at a good velo, we're looking at 92, 93, 94. You don't want him to jump. Yeah, that's kind of where he's around when he's feeling good, right? Especially in the early part of the spring. If he's around there, hitting his spots, I think we got a good shot that maybe we would get the old Alek Manoah back.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'm something that I'm going to be looking at, and I mean, it's too bad I actually won't be able to, but I want to see how he handles the pitch clock, because obviously that was something that he just struggled with a lot last year, right? Alek Manoah in 2022 was one of the slowest throwing pitchers in the entire MLB, and that was a big speculation that coming into 2023 he was going to struggle with the pitch clock, which, I mean, clearly he did. So I want to see, one, what the endurance looks like. I don't think that his leash is going to be super long, but if he does end up walking somebody, like, how is he looking against that following batter when he has to throw an additional few pitches, right? Can he throw 20 pitches in an inning and still be gassing it up at the last pitch? I want to know what that is like, and then just his overall calling of the game with him and his catcher. Are you getting to your pitch quickly? Are you setting yourself up for success? Are you fighting the pitch clock, or are you letting it work in your favor?
Yeah, I guess another thing to add on that, don't let the inning snowball. Don't let it get out of control. We saw a lot of that last year. Walks one guy, walks another guy, wild pitch, and then the sweats start coming down. Now his mind is racing. Mental's a big part of the game. Talk about it with Alek, we talk about it with Vladdy. I think we got to slow the moment down, focus on the next batter. We can't let things get out of control.
100%, dude. I mean, that's just like a note for everyone, Vladdy, Manoah, like literally all of them. Slow down the moment.
With the big aces in the game, Garrett Cole, Kevin Gausman, a big ace in the game.
Totally.
Whenever they have runners on, they strand them. I mean, you saw that with Yusei Kikuchi and Chris Bassett today.
Yeah.
You strand runners in scoring position. You're going to give up your fair share of walks and hits. at some times. Can you strand them? That's the difference.
Yeah, how do you deal under pressure? So yeah, Manoah starts tomorrow, everybody. Obviously a key factor in the Toronto Blue Jays' success in 2024. One of the final quotes that I'm just going to talk about that he said, we don't need to go back to it, but he was effectively talking about the playoffs and how he wasn't there, and how and he was also talking about the rotation as a whole in the regular season, and how sometimes it was like there was 4 guys in there and they were just going back to back to back to back.
Yes.
And if he was in there pitching or just being serviceable, I think that's the word he used, being serviceable.
Yeah, he was at least serviceable.
Then our team would have been so much better. And I do think that is 100% true. If Manoah can bounce back in some capacity just to be serviceable, a 3.80 ERA, we're laughing.
Can you imagine if he was serviceable, we probably end up with, a 92, 93 wins?
I think so.
If he's serviceable, not Cy, if he's Cy Young, man, we have 96, 97.
And I think that you're also and this is one of those things that we'll never be able to calculate, but if he was serviceable last year, does the bullpen get less fatigued? Does the other starters get less fatigued? Do they perform better down the stretch? We will never know, but that is a factor.
Because there was a stretch where we only had 4 starting pitchers. Yeah. And man, we got lucky that not one of them got injured, because with that workload, that could hurt you. Gosman threw well over 200 innings last year, and you don't want to do that again to your starting pitcher. You want to keep him healthy.
No, you got to factor in, too, our guys are phenomenal, but Kevin Gosman's not getting any younger. Chris Bassett is not getting any younger. Yusei Kikuchi's not getting any younger, right? So all of these dudes, at some point or another, you do want to get them a little bit of rest going on here.
For sure. So, you know what? Let's hope that Manoah bounces back. We're going to be covering it. We'll do a little post-game reaction. We'll be on our Twitter, Instagram, covering it all. I just wanted to jump right up there. Speaking of a guy who's not getting any younger, but the same guy who thinks he's going to get even better this year.
Yeah.
That's the guy that we saw today, Yusei Kikuchi, guys. He says he thinks he can get even better. And he looked pretty good today, man. Scoreless outing, too. Obviously, it's only 2 innings, but it's good. You saw vintage Kikuchi from last year.
Well, okay, listen. I know that everybody says you can't overreact about spring training. It's just spring training. This doesn't mean anything. You're right. But if somebody asked me, hey, what do you want to see from Yusei Kikuchi in his first spring training outing, I would say go 2 innings scoreless, strike out 3 people in that time frame, and just look overall dominant while you are attacking the zone. He checked all of those boxes. It felt like all of the pitches were working for him. It felt like the sequencing was good. It felt like he just came in wanting to work on his stuff, and just even that was too much for these Pittsburgh Pirates hitters. Granted, you were looking at a B lineup of the Pittsburgh Pirates, so this is not the greatest competition ever. But Yusei Kikuchi had a lot of great stuff going for him here, and I think that I was skeptical about Kikuchi and what he could do this year, because it did feel like when you just look at the baseline numbers, when you just look at season by season by season, last year does feel like an outlier, and you almost want to regress him back to his norm. But when I was over at Baseball Savant, just looking at the way he changed his game last year and how he got to those numbers, I actually kind of instilled myself with a bunch more confidence that, one, this is very repeatable, and 2, he might be able to get even better than he was in 2023.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing to actually note, yes, the slider, the curveball, we mentioned it in the live play-by-play, but they both complement each other a lot. He introduced that curveball a lot more in 2023. You can see how he literally threw it 0%. He had to throw 5 times in 2022.
Straight up, it was 5 or 6 times that he threw it in the entire year of 2022, the curveball.
Right, so now he incorporated a bit more. He dropped the cutter completely. And however, one pitch that we saw actually a lot today, and shout out to one of our viewers who actually pointed it out, the changeup. I wasn't sure what that 84 on the corners that he was really trying to get in there was. I was like, is this a slider? Didn't look like a slider. It looked like the changeup, and it looked like he was throwing it a lot. So what if he's working now on a 4th weapon?
Right.
If he can utilize that changeup, which he only did 9% of the time, use that to work off the fastball, use the slider and curveball to deceive hitters. Man, he could get even better. He could. Do you think there is a reality, bro, where he gets better in a 386? If he does get better in a 386, man, we are laughing.
I think that for the first time in his whole career, in his MLB career, he really learned what works for him. When you go to 2022 and you look at the fact that his breaking ball was in the bottom 4th percentile, all of his breaking stuff in general, and then in 2023, that skyrocketed to the 91st percentile. I think that goes to show you that, one, we found out, like, that the curveball works and the cutter doesn't, because that's another thing that happened. He just got rid of the cutter completely, so we learned that. And we also learned that this is how Yusei Kikuchi, put away players. This is how Yusei Kikuchi, get ahead in counts and fight back. I use some of my junky stuff. I still build off of the fastball, but you brought it up to me off camera today that sometimes when this guy is behind in counts, he's still very confidently and very consistently throwing his slider and getting himself back into a favorable pitcher's count.
It's confidence. Because what did he do in 2022? The same thing I was telling you off camera. In 2022, when he was behind, the fastball usage was way, way up. Yeah. And guess what happens when hitters are in hitters' counts? Guess what they're looking for? Oh, a fastball in the heart of the zone.
It's one-dimensional, right? It's kind of what they teach you in the first day of hitting camp is, well, if you get ahead, then you can expect a fastball.
Expect a fastball in the heart of the zone where Yusei Kikuchi confidently was throwing a slider. It takes a lot of balls to throw a slider in a hitter's count, especially on 3 balls.
Yeah, and I think it goes to show his awareness of the game, his awareness of what the book on him is, right? It's like, okay, if the book is that I'm going to be throwing fastballs all the time, well, screw that, dude. I'm going to throw my slider because I know that my slider is better than you, and I'm going to get you on this, and they are going to go fishing, and he was doing that consistently. Like, the run value, to just put a number to it, in 2022, he had a -8 run value on his slider. In 2023, that was +8. That swing is absolutely massive, folks. I mean, like, that just goes to show how much of a difference it was, right? And that will help you with all of your other pitches, too. So it goes to show that, like, he found his way to consistently play at the MLB level. And, I think that because of that, because he's got an actual formula to it, it wasn't just like, oh, he's miraculously good now. No, like, there's rhyme and reason to this. That is why I believe he could potentially get better in 2024.
Yeah, I think mechanically last offseason he made a lot of adjustments, and obviously to his pitches, as you can see on Baseball Savant. And now it's like, okay, it worked. The mechanics worked. Let's build. Let's deceive. Because again, what makes you stay in the big leagues and stay competitive unless you have some overpowering stuff, which Yusei Kikuchi's got some good stuff, absolutely, and he's now utilizing it in a great way, but you got to continue to make adjustments, and I think I'm hoping to see maybe a changeup getting used a little bit more. We'll see how he uses it. I'd love to see the strategy behind that, whether he uses it in a fastball count when people are expecting the fastball, whereas like previous years, he used fastball early. What if he gets ahead with a changeup?
Right.
That could be interesting, right? Get guys rolling on front, because if people are realizing, damn, we can't get deep into the accounts with Yusei Kikuchi because I can't get that slider. I don't know if the curveball's coming. Well, let's attack early. Well, okay. The fastball is what he threw a lot last year. What if we start you off with changeup?
Right.
Now you have no idea what's going on as a hitter.
It's a constant adjustment, and it's something that he is going to need to consistently work on. I think that last season he showed that he is capable of doing that. And let's not forget, everybody, this is a contract year for Yusei Kikuchi, and he's not at the age where it's, one and done and we're out of here and we're going to a different league or we're retiring. He could stand to get another contract after this season if he plays himself into it. So if he's capable of putting up the same numbers that he put up last year or even better than that, he has just given himself the opportunity to sign back to either the Toronto Blue Jays or somebody else in the MLB. And obviously, he's going to be looking to do that.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see. I think he walks, just a whole other topic. I think he'll probably walk, because if he does do really well, he'll probably want to test that free agent market.
I think that he probably walks just because of the, where the Toronto Blue Jays pitching rotation depth is at. Like,
Blue Jays will probably pass.
Yeah, like it's less about him and more about just, well, there's Ricky Tiedemann and there's Yariel Rodriguez and who we haven't even seen yet. And, there's obviously Alek Manoah. But still, clearly he wants to get paid. I hope that he does, and he's capable of doing it if he can continue to adjust and work on his breaking stuff.
Well, there's another Blue Jay that if he does really well, maybe in the regular season, he might get paid by another team.
Well, might have to look at the MVP odds, folks. But before we get into it, quick shout out to the sponsor of this video. Whoa! Time for your daily Betway breather. A quick reminder that the best place to bet is on Betway. Must be 19 years of age or older to play. In collaboration with iGaming Ontario, please bet responsibly. Now, back to the content. Shout out to Betway, everybody. Betway, if you are listening, where's the Brian Serven MVP odds? Where are the MVP odds at? Because I'm out here about to smash that line. Brian Serven, Swervin Serven. Shout out to, I think it was Sophie in the chat who gave us that name. Swervin Serven. This is a player who, I'll be honest, I completely forgot about. I did not even realize the Toronto Blue Jays had this guy until today's game. Swervin Serven is currently leading the league in RBIs, and that tweet right there is actually wrong. Because he doesn't have 6. He's got 8. He has 8 RBIs in 4 at-bats right now. He's ahead of Juan Soto. He's ahead of everybody right now in the MLB. Like, clearly, it's spring training. It's 3 games. Brian Serven, we don't know. Is there anything here?
Well, no. Hey, look, he's done very well. He has 2 doubles and a homer, He's got an OPS over 2,000. But what this does tell you is, we were kind of trying to figure out what was our third catcher situation. Years past, we've had Tyler Heineman. He's come up. I forget his first name, but Adams. Remember him? Riley Adams?
I think it was.
He's come up, and we traded him away. He was a little prospect for us. But we always had a third catcher, because at one point or another in the Toronto Blue Jays, you're going to have one of Alejandro Kirk, one of Danny Jansen. They're going to hit the IL. It just happens. That's the players they are, taking all that workload, DHing, catching. It's going to happen. So what does that mean? The Blue Jays got to make sure they have a third guy in the wings. And I think, solely based on what we've seen so far, he's making a pretty good case for himself to be that third guy up.
Yeah, I think that, at the end of the day, you got to factor in, this is his audition.
It is.
And he's not auditioning for the MLB squad, because he's never going to get that, because he got Alejandro Kirk ahead of him, and because he got Danny Jansen, right? And we don't need a third catcher just on the squad. He is auditioning to potentially come up to the show if one of those guys comes down. His past numbers, I'll be honest, not very good. I think last year he hit 130 at the MLB level, and for a large part of the season, he was down at the minors where he hit 199.
Yeah.
So, historically speaking, Brian Serven has just not been a guy. I will apologize, though. I was not familiar with your game.
Literally.
Because clearly, maybe he had a great offseason, and maybe he is putting something together. The guy's got 8 RBIs so far, so I can't really say that he's absolutely nothing. I think that, if anything, this is just going to show that if one of Danny or if Kirk goes down, we do have a semi-serviceable dude ready to come up.
And if we're being all real right now, guys, I expect this guy, if he does get the call, if there is an injury to Danny or Kirk, A, he's not going to be playing that much like Tyler Heineman did for us the last couple of years. But B, I expect him to do nothing. I expect him to just be a catcher. Catch the baseball and throw it back to the pitcher.
Yeah.
And call some, I was going to say throw down some numbers, but you don't do that anymore. Punch in some numbers and learn the pitching staff, and that's it.
Well, for me, this just opened up the window to maybe have a Heineman week. Do you remember the Heineman
The 1 week, I think it was in Boston.
Yeah.
He popped off.
Tyler Heineman, it was like a 5-game stint where this guy just went nuclear. And it was like, oh my God, is Heineman going to break out right now? No, he wasn't. Because after that, it was, he completely fell off. But you never know. Maybe Brian Serven, he could pop off for a week.
Dude, if we had the J of the Week segment, he'd win.
He would
literally win.
Yeah.
You're leading the MLB in RBIs. Of course you
8
would.
ribbies right now. So you know what? Brian Serven, shout out for your 5 seconds of fame, dude. I really hope that for your sake, it is longer than 5 seconds. Because clearly, you know what's going on. But if it is only this short sample size, then shout out, dude, for making us smile during spring training.
Absolutely. Let's pivot a little bit right here. That's all the spring training stuff. Obviously, let's wrap it up. Let's wrap it up.
If we're gonna wrap up the spring training stuff, then we'd be remiss if we didn't just bring up the fact Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Played in a spring training game, everybody, and he did get a hit. And I will admit he had 2 at bats, both of them scorchers off the bat. Okay, the second one, it did not land for a hit, but it was a liner.
It was solid contact.
It was a liner. I mean, he
Solid.
went into the dugout. He was getting high fives because he did what it is that he's supposed to do.
Yep,
You know,
absolutely.
I'm happy with that.
Yeah, we didn't get the big Vladdy bomb, the matching of one sort of like we were hoping for, but hey, it doesn't matter, man. What I really like, especially off of that hit, I was trying to find a video of his hit, but just could not find it. It wasn't for an RBI. It wasn't a big moment.
No.
But what I did love, it was 2 pitches in that whole at-bat. One, it was first pitch, he swung, it was a fastball in the hands, and he fouled it. So he's a righty, he fouled it away to the right side of the field, out of play. And then the second pitch, same fastball inside. He made the adjustment, he got his bat head around, pulled it to the left center field for a looping base hit. Now the outfielder was playing a lot back, probably some no doubles defense with a runner on first, and he was only held to a single.
Yeah.
But, you know, it was still a good at-bat.
Absolutely.
And a good adjustment mid at-bat.
Yeah, he was aggressive. He knew what he was looking for. I mean, he wanted the fastball. He got the fastball, and he was capable of doing something with it. And it was really exciting to see because to lead off that inning, you had Bo Bichette, who got a single, and then you had Guerrero follow up with a single. So then you got runners at the corners, and then you had Justin Turner, and he did ground into a double play. But as somebody commented to us, we got a run scored, and that is progress, right? So in previous years, in 2023, you run into the corner, you get nothing. In this inning, we got one, and I will take that one.
Let's not bring up the fact that we had bases loaded and nobody out either.
Don't need to
talk about that one.
Don't need to talk about
and
it,
it scores like a 1.
But those were the 3 guys that I think
guy.
you're going to see consistently in the first inning, right? I mean, granted, you'll have George Springer to lead things off, but that's probably going to be your 2, 3, 4 in the Toronto Blue Jays lineup. Today, they were capable of scoring 1 run.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see what Vladdy can do. Again, just want to pull away. Good signs. And Bo Bichette, we are going to underrate this guy. He's going to sneakily, if I'm going to do a hot take, I think this guy's going to lead the league in batting average this year. He's going to win the batting title, man.
Well, you took him for most hits.
I did.
So if he's going to get most hits, he's going to be up there.
Probably, right? Like, dude, this guy, I just see his game. It's so clear. He's not trying to hit home runs anymore. I'm just going to hit a ball directly up the middle.
Right.
I'm going to hit a ball to the right side of the diamond. I'm not trying. He did swing out of his ass once on a 3-1 pitch, but you're allowed to on 3-1. But every other pitch, it was just, I'm going to hit it right back, and he's got 3 hits so far.
At the end of the day, like, Bo Bichette was never supposed to be, like, even though the graphic is Bobo go boom boom, and here at Blue Jays today, like, we want this guy to go boom boom. That was never supposed to be his player type, right? His player type was supposed to be, I set the table, I run the bases well. Guerrero, daddy, he's the one that's supposed to absolutely annihilate the baseball. So if they want to fall into that role, if Bo Bichette wants to hit 310, 320, with an OPS of like 840, but only like 20 home runs, I'm good.
Absolutely.
I'm totally good.
That's your role, man. And I keep thinking about the Toronto Maple Leafs because it's hockey season right now. Be Mitch Marner.
Set the table.
Set the table. Send it over to Austin Matthews to drive you in.
That's
essential.
That's what it is supposed to be, everybody. So, very happy right now with how the Toronto Blue Jays, the main guys are looking. I mean, some of the, even though we got blown out in the first 2 games, a lot of that was done from some minor league pitchers.
Yeah, we don't care about those guys.
Yeah. We're only looking at the positives here, everybody. Yeah. Speaking of somebody who actually did have a pretty good first game, I don't really remember what he did today, but Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, this has been a guy who we have scrutinized a decent amount on this channel, and I think Toronto Blue Jays fans have scrutinized a decent amount on this channel, and I think that an article today by Jays Journal, shout out to Jays Journal, they painted it perfectly, because for us, I'm speaking for myself anyways, it's got nothing to do with Isaiah Kiner-Falefa as a player, as a person, his stats, has nothing to do with that. It only has to do with the money. And as time has gone on in this entire offseason, it has become abundantly clear, unless this guy is like gonna break out and completely overperform, that we pay just way too much.
We did. Hey, real quick shout out to Bowl of Special K with the $2 super chat. Thank you very much, my friend.
Shout out, dude. W's in the chat.
Look, there's so many guys around the league that kind of fit the same role. Yes, as of right now, IKF is getting is probably going to get the majority of starts at third base. But, we were talking all offseason, like, okay, you're not getting Matt Chapman back. You're probably going to platoon some guys there. It's going to be Espinal. It's going to be Biggio. It's going to be Schneider. Are we going to call up an Addison Barger or Elvis Martinez to try that out? There were other options there. So signing someone like Kiner-Falefa didn't feel necessary. You could have signed someone like a Gio Urshela, right? Who it was a lot cheaper. You could have signed Tim Anderson. Granted, looked at his numbers recently right before this -2 WAR. But at least Tim Anderson has a history of a batting title, and you could have maybe hoped for a bounce back there, right? And put him into the mix of all those guys I just mentioned, and hopefully someone bounces back. But right now, you're kind of pigeonholed because of the contract of paying him $7.5 million per year to get him some everyday playing time.
Yeah, I think that's always been our problem, right? Is because you are paying him, you're paying him starter money. And because you're paying him starter money, from our standpoint, we go, okay, well, Orelvis Martinez doesn't really have a direct pathway anymore. Addison Barger doesn't really have a direct pathway anymore because Isaiah Kiner-Falefa is getting paid starter money for 2 years. And you look at what the Detroit Tigers just did. They paid $1.5 million for a Gio Urshela.
Ridiculous.
For a 1 year.
Yeah,
right? Like,
I would have took Gio probably over Isaiah.
Yeah, even if the price was the same, you know. So like, it just goes to show that, like, I think the Toronto Blue Jays, maybe it, you know, hindsight is obviously 2020, and maybe it was just the time of when they signed him. Definitely. I do think that they might have hit the panic button just a little bit on that one and probably overpaid.
I mean, you nailed it. It's the timing, because it was early and they felt like they needed to get a Kiner-Falefa. I mean, looking at Gio Urshela, who got paid let's do some direct comparisons right here. Gio Urshela, $1.5 million for a 0.8 WAR, right? And only 214 at-bats, where Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, he got paid $7.5 million per year for a 0.1 WAR in more at-bats.
Yeah, roughly 100 more at-bats right there, more opportunities. Didn't do as much with those opportunities. And obviously got paid a crap load more.
And look, I am ready to be proven wrong. I mean, there's some people out there on our Discord, shout out to our Discord, by the way, if you want to join it, links in the description, who are saying like, hey, Adam, you know Isaiah Kiner-Falefa? They know I don't like him. I don't like the deal. I don't want him on the team. But he's here now, and I'm ready to be proven wrong. It's just a contract. That's all I'm going to say.
Dude,
it's just a contract.
I'm buying in on the player. I'll buy on the player.
Sure.
But, as of right now, until proven otherwise, looking around the league, just like the article outlines, this was an overpay. And we're actually going to have a whole podcast coming out about this exact topic tomorrow. But when you look at Matt Chapman now, and you go, okay, well, Matt Chapman is not going to get paid $100 million or anywhere close to that. In fact, Matt Chapman is probably going to be coming back on a 1 or 2 year deal. You start thinking to yourself, oh shit, like, if we hadn't have paid Isaiah Kiner-Falefa the money that we did, well, now we could be back in on the Matt Chapman conversation. And I think we can both agree, even though we, didn't love Matt Chapman last year, he is miles ahead of what Isaiah Kiner-Falefa could potentially bring to this team. So, yeah, I again, hindsight is 2020, but as of right now, don't love the deal. Would love to be proven wrong.
Absolutely. Speaking of deals, is there another deal for the Toronto Blue Jays before the spring training is over? There was an article out there that talked about potentially maybe signing Tommy Pham, which was one of the big trade deadline asks that we wanted last offseason. He had a really good season. Genuinely.
He did,
genuinely. But he's still not signed right now. And the Blue Jays have been in conversations about getting one more outfield bat, a fourth outfield bat. Right now you have David Schneider kind of being that guy, and you've got, maybe Calvin Biggio playing some platoon roles, but get a pure fourth outfielder with some pop. And Tommy Pham is exactly that guy. Shout out to Yard Barker, who kind of prompted this article. They're talking about why it makes sense to put him on a short team deal. That's kind of what I'm saying. It makes sense because, we need another bat. We right now are missing Matt Chapman. It feels like we're missing just one more oomph in the lineup. And a guy didn't come off the bench you could platoon, you could face in some certain matchups. We want some more flexibility in that regard, and Tommy Pham would be perfect.
Also, just a quick correction. I just noticed this, but apparently it was originally posted on Blue Jays Nation. So
shout out
to our friends over there at Blue Jays Nation. I didn't realize that was originally posted there, but we love those guys. So shout out over there for giving this thought experiment and just kind of promoting it. But before we even just talk about Tommy Pham as the player, because I do like Tommy Pham, I do want to run quickly through what the financial situation here is for the Toronto Blue Jays, because we get comments all the time being like, well, can the Jays now be in on Blake Snell? Can they be in on these other guys? And we do just want to make it very clear. So the Toronto Blue Jays currently right now are estimated to be paying $243.2 million. Now, the tax threshold, the CBT for 2024, is $237. So the Blue Jays are currently over it by $6.2 million. And this is the second year that they're going to be over it. If they go $20 million over the tax threshold, so they would be $257 million, then now they need to pay additional fees, an additional 12% on, I believe, the 30% that they're already paying. So effectively what you're looking at here is if the Jays spend $15 million more, now they're paying significantly more money. So for me, I think that that's kind of like your rough and loose deadline here. I think that you can be in on almost any player if they are lower than $15 million.
Potentially. I mean, I've said it before and I'll say it again. We do not know where Rogers is at, what the budget is looking like. I know that they said they were looking at $40-ish million, similar to last year. And right now they're at about similar to last year.
Yes.
Right? However, if that's the case, then yeah, we're completely gone. But if the deal is there, like if Matt Chapman drops his price to $16 million for 1 year,
if he did that, he's down so bad.
You're down, exactly. But I think he's literally spiraling. I know you're making a video on it, but I really could see him if he's not signed in 2 weeks. Like he could get really desperate. What are you gonna do? Sit out for a year?
Right.
I think that's the worst thing you could possibly do for Matt Chapman. You got to go out and you got to play. You're 31 years old, or 30 or 31.
He's turning 31 in like a month or 2 months or something.
You can't be sitting on the sidelines when you're that age. You got to go out and play, man. Even though you're Matt Chapman, Gold Glove winner, you got to go play. So if the potential reality where that happens, do you do it even though it puts you over that next threshold?
Well, we're gonna break that down tomorrow. Because like I feel like that is the big question, right? Is like, do you do it for Matt Chapman, right? Is there anybody left in the market that you do it for? I think that Tommy Pham, obviously you wouldn't have to, and I think that is why for me he is kind of appealing, because he can come in and he can be productive, and you can lock him down on a 1-year deal for not a whole lot of money and have like hardly any risk. I think that the one thing with Tommy Pham that you need to consider is if you bring him in, well, now you got to make some moves with the 40, right? And now you gotta let somebody go.
That's another tough thing. We're pretty full.
We are getting pretty full, and when you factor in that, you still have Eduardo Escobar down there and Daniel Vogelbach, who maybe you wanted to try something out there, and when you factor in that you still have Addison Barger down there, who could probably do the exact same thing that Tommy Pham can do, do you want to do that, or do you want to give that spot to one of your prospects? Those are the questions for me.
Yeah, it's tough to say. I mean, in regards to the prospects, I mean, it feels like the Blue Jays are managing in a way where they're just trying to hold on to them and protect them. That's why they brought in the Vogelbach, and that's why they brought in the Escobar. So, I mean, bringing in the Tommy Pham could be another one of those moves. Just keep them down there, add more depth and options for John Schneider.
Or would you want that? Would you prefer a Tommy Pham, or would you prefer they go the route of we do the prospect thing?
See, here's the thing, like if they are protecting them and trying to bring them up as a group maybe in a year or two, future me would be happy with that, right? Hold on to that clock. Tommy Pham, we know, is a proven big league hitter.
Yeah.
I would be happy with that, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, what do we want? We want production on the field. Tommy Pham brings that. So I would be happy with it.
It kind of feels like Tommy Pham is like would be the Justin Turner of the outfield. It's like these are guys that have been around for a long period of time. They've been productive at the MLB level for a long period of time. Tommy Pham has moved around to a few different cities before. You bring him in, it's like, boom, like you just have another veteran back there. I do think that it would be interesting for the Jays because they have Kevin Kiermaier already back there, and they got George Springer already back there. It's like it feels like you kind of have your veterans in the outfield. But I mean, we still need some more bats. And like, even though I'm starting to get higher on this team and starting to get higher on Guerrero and Bo and Justin Turner doing the work, would I like to have another player who could potentially come in and at some point in the season bat 5th or 6th on this team and put in some runs and potentially even take a few at-bats away from the IKFs of the world? Maybe.
Dude, perfect scenario. You have him on the bench. IKF is up in a big spot, or whoever is struggling. I mean, it's really easy to pinpoint IKF right now. But whoever is struggling, bring in a Tommy Pham.
IKF, if you're watching this, dude,
I'm sorry, bro.
We're so ready to eat our words, man. Like, please go out there, absolutely annihilate the baseball, and shut these two losers up.
Yeah, for real, man. I would love that.
Yeah, so Folks, that is all of your recent Toronto Blue Jays news, everybody. Let us know in the comments down below your thoughts on all of this. This is the first Blue Jays Today show of the 2024 season, effectively, guys.
Yeah.
We are going to be doing these shows, religiously once the season actually starts. Mondays and Fridays. You can expect this to transpire somewhere around 11 or 12 in the morning. That's when we're going to be hosting them. Up until the regular season starts, it's kind of difficult to lock in an actual schedule just because all the games are all messy. But once the season starts, Mondays and Fridays, long form, everything Toronto Blue Jays content.
Yeah, and they're going to get longer, guys. We're going to add some new fun stuff with y'all. If y'all are OGs, we're going to bring back that wheel. That's a lot of fun, man. And we'll do some fun interactive stuff too, and maybe even bring some of you guys on at some point. We'll have to look at the details, but that's why we're full time now.
I gotta defend the title with the wheel again, man.
Yeah.
You don't want to go down 3-1.
No, gotta tie it up this year. Gotta tie it up.
Folks, thank you so much for watching, everybody. And as always, go Jays, go!